sir. Here we go again. Here we go again. Oh man, I'm excited. Hey man, I'm excited. I'm not even sure if I'm live right now because I always have these technical difficulties starting up my lives. I might be talking to myself, but let me tell you, I'm excited, man. Today is a good day. All praise to the Most High. I've got a good news to report. Listen, we got a lot to talk about tonight, and I got so much to do. I'm a really busy man. I got work to do after this, so I'm going to try to jump right into it. Okay. Now, first of all, you see the topic, you see the thumbnail. We're talking about the quote unquote real Jews. All right. Who are the real Jews? We see black folks like Kyrie Irving getting canceled for posting, retweeting videos like Hebrews to Negroes. We hear there's a lot of infighting amongst the black conscious community. Black folks saying, oh, we're Hebrew Israelites. Other folks are saying, no, we're really just Native Americans, or no, we're really just, we're Kemetic. We're really the ancient Egyptians. There's all these different philosophies as far as the pro-black conscious movement goes. Then we've got the outsiders. We've got the European, the Ashkenazis, the Sephardic Jewish folks talking about, who are these black folks trying to claim our identity? You've got Europeans saying the black folks are claiming their identity, right? So tonight we're going to break down this topic. We're going to address it. I'm going to give y'all some things to think about, some things to consider on this topic. But first, before we get into the main topic, I got to tell y'all this is a big day for me. This is a big day for me. Let me tell y'all why. Today is the first day I am dropping a sponsored video. This is my first paid video, meaning this is a sponsored video. I'm getting paid to put out this information to the public. I'm getting paid to spit knowledge and educate my people out here. So it's big things popping in 2024. First of all, I got to give a big salute to the sponsors of today's video. Now, I'm going to get into the main topic, but I kind of got to give y'all the foundation and explain to y'all why I'm so hyped today. So as y'all know, if y'all been following me for any length of time, you would know that my brother died last year. He had sickle cell. All right, my brother died of sickle cell. Sickle cell is a disease which affects the blood cells primarily of black people. All right. Sickle cell used to be a positive trait. When Africans in Africa had the sickle cell trait, it was a good thing that protected us from getting malaria. But when the Africans were transported from Africa to America, a disease developed from that migration called sickle cell anemia. It affects the blood cells. My brother had this and he died of it last year. Okay? Whereas most folks have blood cells that are round, sort of like an oval going through their veins. People with sickle cell have blood cells that look like a sickle. And what they'll do is they'll hook up and they'll clog your veins, clog your arteries, causing a lot of pain, and in the case of my brother, did cause death. All right, it's a very serious disease. I wouldn't wish it on my enemy. It's very serious. But praise God, praise the Most High. Today, our sponsor is a grant to educate the folks, to educate those with sickle cell, black folks in America specifically, but black folks, all my viewers, to educate y'all about sickle cell. I'm getting paid to let you all know about sickle cell. So this is amazing to me. You might not like it. You might not find it interesting, but I find it amazing. My mind was blown. When I got hit with this sponsorship, I was like, yo, this is a godsend. This is a blessing. All right. So this is big things popping in 2024. I'm going to play the commercial. All right. I got some commercials. This is a sponsored video. I'm going to play the commercial. Should I do that first, or should I jump right into the topic first? Let me see. Let me see. Okay, let's get into this. Let's first. I want to play this commercial. I'm going to play this commercial first. All right. Check out this sponsor, and then we'll get into our main topics. Check this out.
You don't understand. Whenever I go down to the sickle cell clinic, they don't listen. I tell them I need a stronger prescription, that I'm hurting badly, and they act like I don't know what I'm talking about. They never pay attention to how I feel, how I hurt, or what I have to say.
As a sickle cell patient, I've had to learn to stand up for myself. They will listen to you if you're firm but not brash. Clearly and calmly explain your reasoning. It's easy for them to dismiss you as one of those if you get it up into their face, but if you're determined and resolved, eventually they'll take notice.
When will I get to stop fighting the system?
Oh, it's going to be a minute, but you never stop advocating for yourself. And you have the right to be heard and informed about all your medications and all your treatments.
Thank you.
Not satisfied with health care? Don't feel like doctors are listening to you? Don't give up talking. Having problems with pain management meds? Don't stop advocating. Facing preconceived notions? Don't quit. Hang in there. Be honest. Don't feed into this stereotype with hyperbole. In the midst of your pain crisis, it's in your best interest to remain cordial and communicate.
Okay. Boom. 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 That's episode 1. All right. There's going to be about 29 different sponsored videos. It's going to be a series. This is a sponsored video. That is the first commercial to bring some knowledge and some information to those who are suffering and living with sickle cell. As I mentioned before, you know that my brother died of sickle cell, so this is a message that I find near and dear to my heart. I'm glad that I'm able to shine some light on this very serious issue. So anyone who's struggling with sickle cell, understand that there are people out here that care about you, who understand the struggles that you're living with. And if you know anyone who is suffering with sickle cell, be patient with them, because a lot of times the doctors, they don't care, especially it's affecting Black people. So when we go to the doctors, there's already a lot of, and I'm going to have to make a follow-up video specifically on that topic, specifically on the medical maltreatment that a lot of Black folks get, especially folks who suffer from sickle cell, because you're in constant pain. So the doctors are like, oh, you're not really in pain, you're just a drug addict. But no, these people are in pain from the time they're born until the time they die. It's very serious, very, very serious, painful, and sad disease to live with. So once again, salute and shout out to the sponsor of this video. Okay. Now with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the main topic of today's video. All right. We're going to break down the whole philosophy behind the Hebrew Israelites. That's what we're talking about today. Now, I myself, full disclosure, identify as a Hebrew Israelite, but I got to drop some disclaimers before I get into this conversation. Because I identify as a Hebrew Israelite, I do not feel it is my job to tell all the other Black folks in America that they are also Hebrew Israelites. That's not my job. I think that I am a Hebrew Israelite. I believe that I am the descendant of those mentioned in the Bible. I'm going to break down scriptures, and usually I will save this conversation for my Bible in the News series, which I drop every Saturday. I usually keep my weekdays pretty secular, talking about current events and news, and I drop my Bible in the News series on Saturdays. But this past week, I was very busy. I had some personal situations, so I missed the Bible in the News. So today I'm making up for what I missed on Saturday, the Sabbath, and we're going to get into this conversation. So my disclaimer: because I identify as a Hebrew Israelite, I don't feel it's my job to tell everyone else that they are Hebrew Israelites. I think that's one big mistake that a lot of people make within the Hebrew Israelite culture or community. We've got different sections, different camps, like the House of Israel, HOI, ISUPK. We've got different groups, right? And the camps try to go out and proselytize, wake up the people by telling them, hey, do you know that you're the true Hebrew Israelites, do you know you are the people that the Bible is speaking of? And I'm not going to lie, that's one of the ways. Not really. I kind of got my knowledge before that, but seeing those videos is part of what woke me up, right? So I'm not trying to knock these different camps, but I'm just speaking for myself. For myself, I don't feel as though everybody in America that's black is necessarily a Hebrew Israelite, and I say that because the blood is mixed. The blood is mixed. There's been a lot of mixing of blood, mixing of races in America due to slavery, due to the influence of European slave masters. A lot of black folks have mixed blood, right? It's very difficult, even with the 22andMe, all the DNA tests and all that. It's very hard to find and police sex. So that's a disclaimer that I'm going to have. And that's one thing where I see a lot of people getting in trouble online. They say, oh, those white people, they're imposters. They're not the real Jews. For me, I'm like, okay, it's not my job to tell them what they are and what they are not. If they are practicing Judaism, let them practice their Judaism. And here's the crux of our conversation before I get started. I've got some clips that I'm going to play as always, and we're going to get into this conversation. But first, I have to lay the foundation. I'm not into policing sex and telling people what they are and what they are not. If they claim something, let them claim it. Let them live their identity. Let them do them. I'm telling you about me and my philosophy, what I believe. Right? So I don't point to the white people, oh, you're a white Jewish dude, you're not really Jewish, you're an imposter. I don't get into that. Let them practice whatever religion they want to practice. Right now, I'm talking about the difference between the religion, Judaism, and the race, Hebrew Israelites. I'm claiming the race. I'm claiming the race, Hebrew Israelites. I believe, I am of the opinion that I am a descendant of those mentioned in the Bible. Mentioned in both the Old and New Testament. The Hebrew Israelites. That's me and my kind. All right? All right. Now with that being said, I'm going to play some clips, then I'm going to come back with some more philosophy. I'm going to play some clips, and I'm going to come back with some more philosophy. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know how this thing goes. So let's get into it. We played the sponsor. Let's get into it. I'm going to drop you one of the first things that woke me up to the fact that I'm a Hebrew Israelite. And that is this. When I was in Hawaii, I was living out in Hawaii for about 5 years. I got something tatted on my skin. I got a crucifix. I got a cross tatted on my skin, tatted on my midsection, right? On my stomach. And I got a scripture tatted on my chest, right? I was raised Christian. I was raised in the church. I didn't even read the Bible. At this point, I had not read the Bible. Today, I've read the Bible, from the entire Bible from start to finish. I've read it. But before, at this time, when I was getting tatted up and I was living out in the islands and all that, I hadn't read the Bible. I had no knowledge. But I was raised Christian, and I was like, well, one thing that's not going to change is I'm not going to stop believing in God. So if I'm going to get something permanent on my skin, let it be something that I considered praising God, not knowing that we're not supposed to mark up our skin and all that. Not knowing. Out of ignorance, I got tatted up, right? So I'm walking on the beach one day. I'm walking on the beach, and this old black dude. Now, mind you, out in Hawaii, there's not a lot of black folks, like black Americans, black mainland Americans, right? You got a lot of black Hawaiians, black folks from Fiji. They got a lot of islanders, Pacific Islanders, who are melanated. But you don't have like folks I'm from Atlanta. This guy was my partner's dad. He's also from Georgia. So at the time, I didn't even know that. At the time, small world. I didn't even know that this was my man's father. I'm just walking down the beach, shirt off, thinking I'm the man. You know, I'm swole because I was in the army at this time doing my push-ups. So I'm Big Diesel with my shirt off, tatted up, thinking I'm the man, right? And this old head bald dude comes up to me, and he's like, "Hey, young man, I see you got that fresh tat," because it's still, you know, when you first get the tat, it looks fresh. It looks like it's still healing. You know, it's not scabbing, but it's like I got the gel on it. I put the Vaseline on it, so it's real shiny. It says, "Young man, I see you got that fresh tat. You know, you got death tatted on you." I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you got death tatted on you. That crucifix. That's how they killed Christ, right?" I'm like, yeah. Oh, so you that's death. You got death tatted in your skin. And I was like, whoa, like who was this dude telling me I got death tatted on me? Like, what is this? What? He was like, yeah, man, what made you do that? And I'm like, yo, I believe in God. He was like, you believe in God? I'm like, yeah, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. He's like, oh, you a Christian, huh? You a Christian, huh? Okay. All right. Have you ever read your Bible? I'm like, I mean, I read it sometimes, when I go to church, Matthew and Mark and Luke, and yeah, I read. He's like, no, what book do you start in the middle of? And I was like, wow, that's deep. What book do you start in the middle of? When I was a kid, I read Cat in the Hat, but I didn't start at page 10. I started at page 1. And I read to the end. And he was like, well, you say you read the Bible, but why would you start at Matthew? You're going to skip to Revelations, then you're going to go back to Genesis, then you're going to go back to Mark. You skipping around in this book. But what book have you ever read like that? Don't you usually read the book from page 1 to the end? Why are you skipping around like that? So this is when I'm starting to get like, yo, like this dude's got some knowledge. Hold on, let me actually sit here and listen to what he's got to say, because he's saying I'm a kid at this point. I'm like 20, maybe not even 21, maybe 21, barely. I'm a kid. I don't know. I'm thinking I know everything and I don't know anything, right? So he starts asking me questions, leading me down this path to realize, dude, I don't know nothing. I'm just out here, you know what I'm saying, flexing, right? So I'm like, okay, well, you're right. So let me do this. Let me go back and read the Bible, like the whole thing, start to finish. And this is what started to, put me on the path. Now, in my dealings with dude, because come to find out, he was my man's father. Like, he looked like a young man. Like, he looked like a young man. Come to find out, he was my man's father. So dealing with bro, he ends up telling me, you call this dude Jesus, right? You call him Jesus. But do you know that's not his real name? His real name is Yahshua. His name is Yahshua. Yeah, Yahshua ben Yosef. His name is Yahshua, but you keep calling him Jesus. When you pray, you say, in Jesus' name I pray. But who was this Jesus dude when there was no letter J? Like, what? There's no letter J. So he's hitting me with all these things. You keep praying to Jesus, but there's no letter J. Why are you praying to some false god? Like, whoa, like, dude, that's tripping. Now, a lot of times when I talk, you can get kind of, you have to hear some things from different sources in order to catch it, right? I can say something and you'd be like, oh, that's just Luke talking. But then someone else says the same thing and it might click for you. So that's why I'm going to play this clip. Check this out.
The name J is Jesus.
Yes.
Only appears on our alphabet as of 500 years ago. So
And
the
he
question,
lived way before
1,500 years prior to that. So the question is, if on the Hebrew charts and on hieroglyphics and on Italian writings and Greek writings, J is not there, what is the agenda of the Catholic system converting from Yeshua to Joshua? And as if that is not enough, the first rule of academic excellence in terms of translations of scripture,
Okay.
you don't translate a name.
Message.
You don't translate a name. It's a crime. Mount Carmel remains Mount Carmel.
Hence, slavery was the biggest crime, to take away people's names.
Moses remains Moses.
Right.
You don't translate a name. So if you teach me as an academician and say, this is the rule that you must follow,
Right.
then how come when I get on Yeshua, the name is translated to Jesus and it's non-consequential?
Do you think there's an agenda to dilute the true scriptures of what the Bible's supposed to be? Was there an agenda to even minimize African significance in the Bible?
If we can go back on the text itself, you would find that the European does not appear on the text. Let's agree on that as a start-off point.
Message.
The only time you see the European appearing on the text is on writings such as the Romans, which is a New Testament phenomenon.
That Paul.
Herod,
Okay.
when Yeshua was born, he was being taken to be counted by the Roman Empire. Then the Romans start appearing in the New Testament. In fact, they don't appear as much except as oppressors. The crucifixion of Yeshua happens in the hands of the Romans, who are the Europeans. If you look just on the crucifixion weekend,
Yes.
as to who crucified him, who carried the cross, who buried him, you'll end up with two criminals and Yeshua dying between two thieves in the east and in the west. And Africa being at the center of the cross, we have thieves from the east, we have thieves from the west. The question is, how are we dealing with the Chinese? How are we dealing with the Americans? But that's more at a spiritual level.
100%.
But in the history space itself, Joseph of Arimathea, Simon of Cyrene, and etc., people who come to rescue Yeshua on the cross are fellow black people.
How so? Simon was from?
Cyrene. Cyrene is Sudan.
So this is true
In your text.
evidence of
Yes.
there were Africans at the time of crucifixion.
Really?
But what could be their presence be there for? Was Jesus their brotherhood or?
We will need to, yes, I hear where you're going. We will need to look back into the birth of this young man, born in the, and by the way, Middle East only becomes Middle East as of the 1950s, when the Suez Canal is dug to separate North Africa with what we now call Middle East.
Correct.
We are literally separated by a canal. But the tectonics and the formation of the continent, Africa, include the name J.
Okay. So I hope you could hear that. I hope that kind of triggered something in you to start thinking. Because the purpose of this live tonight is to just make you think, to make you have some questions. You don't have to agree with everything I'm saying, but the purpose of the live tonight is to make you think and to make you question. Because a lot of times when you're raised in the church, as I was, you're discouraged from asking questions. You're encouraged to listen and obey and accept general truths, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Who's going to argue with that, right? Nobody's going to argue with that. Love your neighbor as yourself. Forgive others. You know, the Lord's Prayer, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. There are things that it's hard to argue with. That's what's going to be mentioned in the church. But there are things outside of that, if you do your own research and you're not afraid to ask questions that will pique your interest, that might say, hey, there might be more to this that I haven't heard elsewhere, that I'm not getting from the church. So the purpose of the live tonight is just to make you have the courage to ask questions and do your own research. So once I got the knowledge that, okay, his real name isn't Jesus, there is no letter J in the Hebrew language, so why was there a change in name? This line of thinking led me to ask questions. Asking questions, what does the Bible say? Ask and the answer shall be given unto you. Right? Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. So I started hearing things like this. There is no letter J in the Hebrew Bible, so why would Christ's name be Jesus when his real name is Yahshua? Why do they keep calling him Jesus? Why do you keep praying to Jesus? These questions made me seek answers. And this is what I found. Again, I'm not here to argue with you. If you believe something else, you're free to believe what you want to believe. I'm not here to convince you I'm not here to convert you. I'm not here to get you to believe what I believe. I'm just here to tell you what I believe, and hopefully it sparks some interest in you or makes you ask some of your own questions. So once I started asking questions, this is what I found. All right. I'm baby stepping here. Right? Shout out to Alexa Hawkins. Glad you're sharing. I do my best. And like I said, I'm not here to convert anyone. I'm just telling you what I believe. You're welcome to leave and go off and believe whatever it is that you want to believe. And to everyone, I just appreciate you watching. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Right? So I started asking these questions a long time ago. I'd say this was about 15 years, not quite 15 years, a little over 10 years ago, right? 10, 12 years, something like that. 12 years ago or so, 12, 13 years ago. So started going down this line of questioning, and this is what I found. In the Hebrew Bible, well, in the Bible in general, Old Testament and New Testament, the Hebrew Israelites were black. Christ was black. We can see in different books, such as the book of Revelations, where they describe Christ as having hair of wool and feet the color of burnt bronze. Burnt bronze is brownish, like dark brown, dark reddish brown. So there's plenty of evidence. We see Solomon or talking about, you know, he's black and comely. We see different evidences. The region that they were in at this time prior to the wars, right? Because prior to the New Testament, there's a lot of wars going on in the Bible. If you do your research, read the Bible, there's a lot of wars going on, a lot of wars, different tribes fighting for the land. This was before the Suez Canal was built. So that Middle Eastern region that they call Middle East, where the Arabs currently reside, they pushed down all the way into North Africa now. But at the time, 2,000 plus years ago, at the time of Christ and before Christ, all of that was black. There was no Suez Canal. All of that was one big landmass, and black folks inhabited the land. There started to be wars, Arab invasions, and all of now, even all down to Morocco, Egypt, there's Arabs all through the land. But if you go to Egypt, if you go to North Africa, there's still black people there, only there's Arabs as well who are running the countries because of the wars that we've lost. All right. Now here is the conclusion that I've come to in my research. This is what I believe has happened. I'm going to go to the Bible, to the Word. We're going to go to the book of Deuteronomy. Then I'm going to explain to you how we got here. Book of Deuteronomy. Let me share this. Let me share this. Make sure that y'all can see that. All right. Hopefully this is big enough for you. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for y'all. Y'all bear with me. Bear with me. I want to get this a little bit bigger for y'all so that you can kind of read it. I don't want y'all to struggle reading this. So I'm going to make this bigger for you. A little bit bigger. Hope that helps. All right, so we're going to start at chapter 28. I'm going to read most of it, but for the sake of time, I hope y'all can understand and just bear with me. So in the book of Deuteronomy, we've got the breakdown between, this is Moses. Moses is speaking to the people in the desert before they got to the promised land. Moses is telling the folks, hey, you got two options. You can obey the commandments of the Most High God, or you can disobey and do your own thing. Right? Obey or disobey. If you obey, you will be the most blessed people on the planet. You're going to be blessed. When you come in, you're blessed. When you go out, you're blessed. You will be blessed. But if you disobey, God help you. I'm going to quickly read through this. And as I'm reading, especially the if you obey is nice, but we didn't obey. So it's slightly irrelevant. What is relevant is what if we don't obey. Because when we get into the book of Kings, we see that we did not obey. We did not obey. The kings didn't obey. When after we told the prophet Samuel, hey, we want a king. We told Samuel, hey, we want a king. We want some leadership here, and we didn't obey. So I'll quickly touch on some of the things we could have gotten if we would have obeyed. And if we choose to go back and return to the Lord, what we will get, because our obedience will be rewarded. But then I will show you what we ended up getting because we chose not to obey. So Deuteronomy chapter 28. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commandments I give you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations on earth. All these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord God. You will be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. The fruit of your womb will be blessed, and the crops of your land, and the young of your livestock, the calves of your herds, and the lambs of your flock. Your basket and your kneading through will be blessed. You will be blessed when you come in. You will be blessed when you go out. The Lord will grant that the enemies who rise up against you will be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction, but flee from you in 7 different directions. The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and on everything you put your hand to. The Lord your God will bless you in the land he is giving you. The Lord will establish you as his holy people, as he promised you an oath, if you keep the commandments of the Lord your God and walk in obedience to him. Then all the peoples on earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they will fear you. The Lord will grant you abundant prosperity in the fruit of your womb, the young of your livestock, and the crops of your ground in the land he swore to your ancestors to give you. The Lord will open the heavens, the storehouse of his bounty, to send rain on your land in season and to bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations, but borrow from none. Hold on, let me say that again. You will lend to many nations, but borrow from none. Mind you, the Bible also says in the book of Proverbs, the lender or the borrower is slave to the lender. So there's a lot of meanings here if you catch it. The Lord will make you the head, not the tail. If you pay attention to the commandments of the Lord your God that I give you this day and carefully follow them, you will always be at the top, never at the bottom. Do not turn aside from any of the commandments I give you today, to the right or to the left, following other gods and serving them. Now, before the next, we're going to get into verse 15 where they start talking about the curses for disobedience. But first, this is something I want to call out. And I mentioned this at the beginning of today's live. I do not get into bashing the European Jewish folks, the Sephardic Jews, the Ashkenazis, the European converts who Paul went to the Romans and went to the Corinthians and converted the Europeans into Judaism, the religion. I don't get into bashing them and saying that they're not Jewish for this reason. When black Americans, when black folks, when the real, true Hebrew Israelites, the original Hebrew Israelites, when we disobeyed, God's commandments and we were cursed for our disobedience, the converts, the people that we converted, the Europeans that we converted into Judaism, they continue to obey. See, a lot of times, a lot of Hebrew Israelites, they get into saying, hey, they stole our religion. They stole our stuff. We're the real Hebrew Israelites. We're the real people that the Bible speaks of. And those Europeans are imposters. I don't get into that. I'm not here to preach that the Europeans are imposters and they're thieves and they're devils. Me personally, now, Louis Farrakhan, he can say what he wants to say. He's got his knowledge and he's got his beliefs and what he's standing on. That's just not my thing. If you talk to some of these other camps, HOI, House of Israel, you talk to ISUPK, you talk to the other camps, they are a little bit more aggressive. Nah, I'm not rocking with those Europeans. They stole everything. That's their philosophy. Tonight, I'm telling you my philosophy, and I'm not converting, I'm not arguing, I'm just telling you what I believe. I believe that Paul and the original Hebrew Israelites, us black folks, went to the Europeans. We can see in the book of Romans, we can see in the book of Corinthians, we can see the Sephardic Jews. We went to the Europeans and we converted them to Judaism, but then we disobeyed. We disobeyed God, and they continued to follow the laws. Now, you fast forward thousands of years, the Jewish people, those European Jewish people who you see walking on the side of the road every Saturday, going to the synagogue, they're not driving in their cars, they're not eating pork. Message to black folks who still eating pork. The Jewish folks who are keeping the laws of the commandments, they're not eating pork. They're not driving. They are practicing the religion. They are obeying the laws that were given, right? They're looking specifically and exclusively at the Old Testament. They said these are the laws that God said if we follow these, we will be blessed when we go in and go out. They're following the laws. They are practicing the religion. Those European converts are practicing Judaism. That's the religion and that's the race. So there's a distinguishment here. There's two different things going on here. I don't get into bashing the Europeans for practicing the religion because they're doing what they should be doing. They're obeying the laws of God, whether they're the chosen people or not. I believe that we are the chosen people. We are the original, us melanated folks in America specifically, but also in some of these other places because there's 12 tribes, so that's getting into Haiti, and I'm going to break that down a little bit later in tonight's live. But Black Americans, we are from the tribe of Judah. Some of us, like I said, the blood is mixed, so I'm not trying to convert anyone. If you don't think you have any Hebrew blood, that's on you. I believe I've got Hebrew blood in me. That's on me. You see what I'm saying? So if you are a Hebrew Israelite in America, you would be from the tribe of Judah. Okay, you are from the tribe of Judah. That's what got shortened to Jewish. Jew is short for Judah. Okay, there's other tribes, the Levites, right? You've got the Reuben, you've got Asher, you've got Gad. There's other tribes and things of that nature. We're going to get into that too. Right? Right. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the other tribes. But the message here is don't start bashing the Europeans for practicing a religion that we chose to disobey. That's one thing I don't do. If they're choosing to obey the laws, we as the disobedient group, even if we're the chosen group, we can't bash the Europeans for being obedient. All right. Now let's get into the curses that we received because of our disobedience. The original Hebrew Israelites, the race, not the religion, but the race of people that the Bible is referring to. That's us. And that's what we're facing. And that's what we're going to get into. The curses for disobedience. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come on you and overtake you. Now, here's one thing before we get into it that I want to point out. It doesn't say some of these curses, it says all these curses. All right? All. There's a very important word here. It says all these curses will come upon you. The reason I want to point that out and emphasize that is because some of these curses might apply to other groups, but all of these curses apply to us. Now let's talk about it. You will be cursed in the city and cursed in the country. Mind you, if you're living in New York, DC, Atlanta, Los Angeles, you're in the city. But if you're out there in Iowa, you're still cursed. If you're out there in Utah, you're still cursed. If you're out there in Missouri, you're still cursed. Oklahoma, you're still cursed. If you're in the city or if you're in the country, you're cursed. Your basket and the kneading through, cursed. The fruit of your womb will be cursed, and the crops of your land, and the calves of your herds, and the lambs of your flocks. You will be cursed when you come in, and you will be cursed when you go out. The Lord will send on you curses, confusion, and rebuke in everything you put your hand to. Now, you want to talk about confusion. If ever there was a confused group of people, let me tell you, it's us. Until you are destroyed and come to sudden ruin because of the evil you have done in forsaking him. The Lord will plague you with diseases. Ed, plagued with sickle cell, died from sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell was a trait which was supposed to be beneficial to black people as a natural protectant to keep you from getting malaria. What God intended for a good thing was sickle cell trait to protect us from malaria. Thanks to our curses, mm, mm, the Lord will plague you with diseases until he has destroyed you from the land you are entering to possess. The Lord will strike you with wasting disease, with fever and inflammation, with scorching heat and drought, with blight and mildew, which will plague you until you perish. The sky over your head will be bronze, the ground underneath your feet iron. The Lord will turn the rain of your country into dust and powder. It will come down from the skies until you are destroyed. Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen an image of North Africa before desertification? Have you ever? I've only got so much time to pull up all the images, but if you're watching this, I would encourage you on your own time after this live or even while I'm talking, take the time and Google real quick. Open up a side tab bar and Google North Africa before desertification. Desertification. Before North Africa became the desert, became the Sahara Desert, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful rainforest. But what happened? Lord turned off the rain, turn it into dust and powder. It will come down the skies until you are destroyed. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. We lost the war. Slavery, you're not just slaves, you are a prisoner of war. You are a POW. That's what slavery was. We lost the wars in Africa. What did they do? They sold the prisoners of war. That's slavery. You will come at them from one direction, but flee from them in 7. Instead of winning the wars, we lost our wars. And you will become a thing of horror to all the kingdoms on earth. Now, let me ask you, what group? I know it's not the Sephardic Jews. If I'm thinking about the Europeans who are practicing Judaism, like I said, I don't get into bashing the European practitioners of their religion. But if I'm thinking about the Ashkenazis and the Sephardic Jewish people, I'm not thinking that they are a thing of horror for all the kingdoms on earth. I don't think all the kingdoms of earth are laughing, pointing at them. But let me tell you, black Americans, you don't think you're getting laughed at by all these folks coming to America? Everyone's laughing at us black folks. Let's be real. Let's be real. People are are laughing at us. Huh? Talk to me if I'm wrong. Tell me this doesn't apply to us, and tell me how that applies to some of the European folks. All right, I continue. Your carcasses will be food for all the birds and the wild animals, and there will be no one to frighten them away. The Lord will afflict you with the boils of Egypt and with tumors, festering sores, and itch from which you cannot be cured. Now, mind you, let me point this out. The boils of Egypt. Egypt here is not just the country Egypt, which we all know in North Africa. When they're talking about Egypt, Egypt is a spiritual place. It's a place of captivity. We went through our one of our slavery points was in Egypt, right? We were in slavery in Egypt at one point, and we're going to, according to Deuteronomy, we're going to get into it. We will return into Egypt, meaning we will return into captivity by way of boats, aka the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. We're going to get into that in a second. The Lord will afflict you with madness, blindness, and confusion of mind. Let me ask you this. Have you ever heard people say, hey, you black folks, y'all are crazy. Like, y'all are crazy. Why do y'all always focus on race? Why are y'all, why can't you all just seem to get it together? Why can't you just, all right. It's almost like we're crazy. It's almost like we're so obsessed. We've gone mad with obsession. At midday, you will grope about like a blind person in the dark. You will be unsuccessful in everything you do. Day after day, you will be oppressed and robbed with no one to rescue you. Now, I'm not saying this applies to every individual person, but as a group, you stop me when you find something that doesn't apply. You will be oppressed and robbed with no one to rescue you. A lot of people, they say, oh, well, the European Jewish folks, they went through their Holocaust, excuse me, with no one to rescue you. With no one to rescue you, us black Americans, have you ever seen the movie Red Tails? Have you ever seen Red Tails? It was some people that went there and rescued. We rescued. The European Holocaust lasted what? 6 years? Ish? 4 to 6 years? 6 years being generous? 4 to 6 years? There were a lot of people who fought to rescue them. I'm talking about us. Who fought to rescue us? You're going to say, oh, well, there was a civil war. Mind you, Abraham Lincoln said if he could keep the Union together without ending slavery, he would. That war was not about us like you think. But I digress. Let's continue with the word. Verse 30. I'm just saying. When you're talking about people being oppressed and robbed with no one to rescue you, you let me know when it stops applying. Verse 30. You will be pledged to be married to a woman, but another will take her and rape. I can't say that R word on YouTube. Another will take her and abuse her. You will build a house, but you will not live in it. You will plant a vineyard, but you will not even begin to enjoy its fruit. Now, let me ask you this. During slavery, do you understand that the slave master would take our wives with no recourse? Do you understand that black slaves were not even black slaves specifically were not allowed to get married? That's why we have the tradition of jumping the broom. Have you ever heard of that? Hey, let's go jump the broom. Jump the broom. That was our form of marriage because we couldn't get married. And if we tried to get married, slave master would come and say, "Oh, that's your wife? Oh yeah, you sleeping with me? Go warm up my bed tonight, huh?" So you will pledge to be married to a woman, but another massa is going to come and assault her. You're going to build a house. Do you understand that it was black people that built the White House? Do you understand that we built the slave house? We had to sleep in the slave quarters, but we're building. Let me tell you something. I used to work when I was living in DC, but I used to work as a court reporter for some time, and that job was through Veteran Reporters. You can look it up. The headquarters for that job was on a plantation in Virginia. They still had whipping posts on this plantation down there in Virginia. The company was owned. That's a whole live in and of itself. That's a whole my time there. What I saw during my time there was, whew, that was an eye opener. Let me tell you. Let me tell you, it was a slave plantation. It still had black statues of like people who were in anguish. It was a plantation, guys. I'm telling you, it was a plantation, and they had whipping posts still up, and they had me go through the side door. They had me go through the side door. I went through the first door the first time I went there, but after that, every time I went back to drop off the equipment and stuff, they're like, "Oh, please go through the back door." Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You will build a house, but you will not live in it. You let me know when that starts to apply to the Sephardics and the Ashkenazis. Like I said, let me digress. Let me take it easy. But the only reason I'm calling these the calling out is because I'm trying to draw a distinction here. All right. In general, as a general practice, I don't get into bashing the practitioners of Judaism. I don't. I really don't. Please trust me. Trust and believe. In real life, like right now, I'm on live and I'm trying to wake up my people and give them some knowledge. So I'm trying to draw a distinction. But in real life, I'm not into bashing like these folks. I'm really not. I'm really not. But here I'm just trying to draw a distinction. I'm trying to show you the way that these things apply to us and nobody else. All right. That's the only reason I'm kind of emphasizing this the way I am. Let's continue. All right. Your ox will be slaughtered before your eyes, but you will eat none of it. Your donkey will be forcibly taken from you, and it will not be returned to you. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and no one will rescue them. Your sons and daughters will be given to another nation, and you will wear out your eyes watching for them day after day, powerless to lift a hand. Let me ask you what you think it felt like when you are a parent out there off the coast of Nigeria, right? Off the coast of Nigeria, off the coast of Mozambique, and you're watching your sons and your daughters get drug away in iron collars. They're getting drug away in chains. They're getting drug away in chains, getting onto a boat, and you see the boat pull off the coast, and you're just sitting there in the bushes, not trying to just watching the boats go and hoping and praying and wondering when those boats are going to come back. You don't think it was some parents that stayed there on that beach hoping day after day, hey, maybe the boat might come back today. Maybe tomorrow it'll come back. You don't think it was some folks out there powerless to lift a hand? You tell me when this thing doesn't apply to us. All of it. It says all of these curses will apply. A people that you do not know will eat what your land and labor produce, and you will have nothing but cruel oppression all your days. Huh? Not, huh? The sights you will see will drive you mad. Have you ever heard of buck breaking? Google buck breaking. I'm telling you some things that you can Google on your own. You don't even have to take my. I'm hoping that I'm just sparking something for you to think about. You don't have to agree with me. Just do your own research. Do your own research. Google buck breaking and tell me it wasn't some things that happened on that plantation that people saw that will drive you mad. They used to take a big man, the biggest, strongest slave, the strongest diesel brother. They would tie him up to two horses on the hands, two horses on the legs, and smack the horse so that the horses run in opposite directions. So you got your legs running this way and you got your hands running this way, and horses are pulling you. You ever see a horse gallop away? with a man tied to it. And then when you're torn apart, they don't just stop. No, they keep letting the horse ride around, walk around for the rest of the day with half your carcass hanging on to it. You don't think it was some things that we saw that would drive you mad? Okay, okay. Verse 35. The Lord will afflict your knees and legs with painful boils that cannot be cured, spreading from the soles of your feet to the top of your head. Sounds like smallpox to me. Sounds like smallpox to me. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't take a big reach. If you believe in biblical prophecies, because maybe you just don't believe in biblical prophecies. I tend to believe in biblical prophecies. And when I see stuff like this was Moses prophesied that this would happen. And when I read it, I'm like, I can see that how this would apply. I think this is prophecy fulfilled. I don't. It's not a big reach to say that this happened. It's not like I gotta, oh, that's a reach. Oh, you're stretching. That doesn't really apply. Read it for yourself and tell me how this does not apply. The Lord will drive you and the king you set over you, read the book of Kings, to a nation unknown to your ancestors. Huh? Huh? You and the king over you to a land unknown to your ancestors, America, newfound land. Oh, we're going to what? The New World. That's what they called it back in the 15 and 1600s. The New World. It's a new world. Now tell me when some of these other groups were dragged to a nation unknown to their ancestors. This. Tell me how that would apply to any group besides us. I'm saying me specifically, I am a Hebrew Israelite, and I'm telling you why. The Lord will drive you and the king you set over you to a nation unknown to you or your ancestors. I think that applies to me and my people. That's just me. There you will worship other gods, Jesus. Huh? Not to step on anyone's toes, but his name is Yahshua ben Yosef. His name is Yahshua. His name is Yahshua. You can call him Jesus. A rose by any other name is just as sweet. I know what you're saying, but I don't think you know what you're saying. When I hear it, I'm like, okay, all right. Just call him the Christ. I call him the Christ. If I want to be specific, I call him Yahshua. But I just call him the Christ, just to keep it kosher. But all right, worshiping other gods, Jesus. Gods of wood and gods of stone. You will become a thing of horror, a byword, and an object of ridicule among all the peoples where the Lord will drive you. Come to America and tell me that black Americans aren't the lowest on the totem pole. Everyone comes to America. They just got here yesterday. They got other groups coming to America and they call them model minorities, as if we're equal. As if we're equal. They call them model minorities. We're not a model minority, right? We're the ain't shit minority. Excuse my language, right? We're just we nothing, right? We got model minorities, then we got us, and we're just nothing, right? We're a thing of ridicule. Go on Twitter and see all the all the ridicule they talking about black folks. Man, they call us anything but a child of God. You will sow much seed in the field, but you will harvest little, because locusts will devour it. You will plant vineyards and cultivate them, but you will not drink the wine or gather the grapes, because the worms will eat them. You will have olive trees throughout your country, but you will not use the oil, because the olives will drop off. You will have sons and daughters, but you will not, huh? You will have sons and daughters, but you will not keep them, because they will go into captivity. Have you ever heard of kids getting the children? And when we were in slavery, you ever heard of, oh, I'm going to sell your kids to another plantation? I'm living in Georgia, but I'm going to sell your kid to Alabama. I'm going to sell your mother to Virginia. I'm going to sell your father to South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee. Do you understand the way that they broke up our families? Do you understand when you're talking about family reunions? A lot of black folks, do you know that black Americans, foundational black Americans as we're called, We invented the idea of a family reunion. This thing can get deep. And listen, I'm not trying to be here all night, but this thing can get deep. Do you understand that the whole concept of a family reunion was created by us because we wanted to reunite with the people after we got freed from slavery? When slavery ended, we've been stuck on our plantation. We couldn't leave without master's written note. We couldn't go see our family members. They could be 10 minutes up the road. We couldn't go see them without permission, right? So after slavery, when we got our freedom, we said, hey, we want to reunite with our family. If you get word that you hear from, the Fry clan, shout out Fry time, if you hear from the Fry clan, if you hear from the, you know, the Freedmans, if you hear from the, I'm just throwing out names, but basically, folks were like, listen, if you are part of this family, we're gonna meet here every Thanksgiving. Every Thanksgiving, we're gonna be at Aunt Alexa Hawkins' house. We're gonna be at Alexa Hawkins' house every Thanksgiving. If you're part of the family, show up because we're free now. Last year we were in slavery. I couldn't see you. Now we're free. We're gonna meet up at Alexa Hawkins' house. Family reunion. We invented the family reunion because we had our sons and daughters, but we couldn't keep them because they were sold into captivity. These things apply to us, and this is why I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Swarms of locusts will take over all your trees and the crops of your land. The foreigners who reside among you will rise above you higher and higher, but you will sink lower and lower. Tell me when these things do not apply, and tell me when they apply to anyone besides us. The foreigners who reside among you will rise above you higher and higher. Have you ever heard of a model minority? Huh? You ever heard the phrase model minority? But you will sink lower and lower. Do you understand that Black Americans are no longer the second biggest group in America? We have been surpassed by the Hispanics. Black Americans have been stagnant at 13% of the population. Now the Hispanics, who were once 5, 6%, now they're up to 15% of the country, 15, 16% of the country. Do you understand? Black Americans are now outnumbered in our own homeland. So the foreigners who reside among us will rise above us higher and higher. But we're going to sink lower and lower, says Moses. Says Moses. Now, don't argue with me. Argue with Moses. If you think this doesn't apply to us, tell me who this is applying to. Tell me which Hebrew group this. Who tell me who you think this is applying to? Because I believe in biblical prophecies wherever I might read them. So if this is a biblical prophecy coming from Moses, and I'm believing that it applies to us, I want to hear an alternative opinion. Tell me, if not us, then who? Verse 44. They will lend to you, but you will not lend to them. They will be the head, but you will be the tail. All these curses, not some, not one or two, not a sprinkle, all these curses will come on you. They will pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed. Why? Because you did not obey the Lord your God and observe the commands and decrees he gave you. This is prophecy. This is biblical prophecy. They will be a sign and a wonder to you and your descendants forever, because you did not serve the Lord your God joyfully and gladly in the time of prosperity. You had everything going for you. I gave you everything. I gave you the promised land, says Moses. I led you out of captivity. I took you from Egypt. I took you out of slavery. I'm leading you. We're in the desert. God is literally dropping manna from heaven. He's literally dropping food. Hey, you hungry? Make it rain bread loaves. Make it rain honey. Hawaiian bread. Just coming out the sky. Are you hungry? Let me just pick this up off the ground. It's food in the desert. God's making it rain food, and we are unable to obey. All right. What was the reward for our disobedience? Because you did not serve the Lord your God joyfully and gladly in the time of prosperity, what happened? Therefore, in hunger and thirst and nakedness and dire poverty, you will serve the enemies the Lord sends against you. He will put an iron yoke on your neck until he has destroyed you. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. Iron yoke on neck. Images. Do you see this? The first thing they show is what? If this doesn't apply to us, I didn't say, hey, black people in iron yokes. I just said iron yoke. Iron yoke on neck. The first thing they show, slaves. Black slaves with iron yokes on their neck. Isn't it? I didn't have to like go searching for, searching for something that applies. You just Google iron yokes. The first thing you're gonna see is black slaves with iron yokes around their neck. That's us. It doesn't take a lot of it doesn't take you got to go dig and try to make something fit your narrative. Just Google. Just use Google. Just use common sense. Just use common sense to tell me how this doesn't apply. Just use common sense. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be, a PhD. Just read it and tell me who this would apply to if not us. Therefore, in hunger and thirst, in nakedness and dire poverty, you will serve the enemies the Lord sent against you. He will put an iron yoke on your neck until he has destroyed you. The Lord will bring a nation against you from far away. Europe is pretty far. From the ends of the earth, like an eagle swooping down, a nation whose language you will not understand. We weren't understanding those Europeans when they got to us. Listen, you better learn English, boy. You better learn that English, boy. You're going to learn that English. Watch. And you're not going to speak nothing but it from now on. Verse 50. A fierce looking nation without respect for the old or pity for the young. You ever see the way that they treated our folks back in slavery? You think they had pity for the old and the young? They didn't have any respect for our old folks. They fed our young to alligators. You ever heard the phrase alligator bait? You think they had pity for the young? They used to use our babies to catch alligators. Alligator bait. I really don't think this is why I make these videos, because I really don't think our people really appreciate. Okay. All right. All right. I really don't think that our people appreciate the unique experiences that we've overcome. There's a song, one of my favorite songs is GSOAT, Greatest Survivors of All Time. I think is who is that? Barry Levi? Y'all check that out. If you got Apple Music, check out the song GSOAT, Greatest Survivors of All Time. Cause we are the great survivors. We are the great survivors. We are the greatest survivors of all time. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. Check it out. Barry Levi, I think that's the artist. That's one of my favorite songs. GSOAC. Verse 53. Because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege, you will eat the fruit of the womb, the flesh of the sons and daughters the Lord your God has given you. Even the most gentle and sensitive man among you will have no compassion on his own brother or the wife he loves or his surviving children. Huh? Or the surviving children. You talking about black on black crime? You got no compassion for your own brother. You talking about gender wars? You you know no compassion for the wife he loves. You talk about black on black crime. You talk about the gender wars we're going through. Okay, you think I'm just reaching? I'm just making this stuff up, huh? Verse 55. And he will not give to one of them any of the flesh of his children that he is eating. It will be all he has left because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege of all your cities. The most gentle and sensitive woman among you, so sensitive and gentle that she wouldn't venture to touch the ground with the sole of her foot, will begrudge the husband she loves and her own son or daughter. Huh? You ever heard of the gender wars we're dealing with as the black community right now? And that might be a whole nother conversation on Saturday. Don't get me started on gender wars now. Let me digress. Let me digress and keep going. Verse 57. The afterbirth from her womb and the children she bears, For in her dire need, she intends to eat them secretly because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege of your cities. They're talking about the wars we were going through. The wars we were going through. Verse 58. And we're getting there, guys. I hope I'm not losing you. We're almost there. And I've got a few more clips I want to play for you. I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time. I want to give y'all a quick salute if y'all are rocking with me, checking me out this far. Hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying today's conversation, and if you're new to the channel, smash the subscribe button for content just like this. All right, let's keep going. Verse 58. If you do not carefully follow all the words of this law, now notice all the words of this law, carefully follow it, which are written in this book, and do not revere this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, the Lord will send fearful plagues on you and your descendants. Not just you, but your descendants. So when I'm talking about, hey, we need reparations, oh, well, you were never a slave, forget that. I am my ancestors. I'm the fifth. I am my father, and my father is my grandfather. We are one. As far as you, let me tell it. Let me tell you my side of the story. Let me tell you my side of the story. We're one. I'm the fifth, and my son will be the sixth, Lord willing. We are one. I am my ancestors. Harsh and prolonged disasters and severe and lingering illnesses. He will bring on you all the diseases of Egypt that you dreaded, and they will cling to you. The Lord will also bring on you every kind of sickness and disaster not recorded in this book of the law until you are destroyed. You who are as numerous as the stars in the sky will be left but few in number, because you did not obey the Lord your God. Just as it pleased the Lord to make you prosper and increase in number, so it will please him to ruin and destroy you. You will be uprooted from the land you are entering to possess, meaning you're not going to be in Israel anymore. Hey, Kunta Kinte, you're not going to be Kunta Kinte, you're going to be Toby. We're going to take you up out of Israel. We're going to take you up out of We're going to take you out of Israel. You come into the new world now. Then the Lord will scatter you among all nations, from one end of the earth to the other. There you will worship other gods, gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your ancestors have known. Among those, again, talking about Jesus, man. We called him Yahshua. That's okay. It's just a change of name. Okay. All right. All right. I feel your spirit. Listen, I'm not trying to, I feel your spirit. I appreciate your effort. At the end of the day, we're worshiping the same one God. So I'm not trying to beat up on anyone here. I'm just trying to wake people up. Trying to make you ask some questions. Verse 65. Among those nations you will find no repose, no resting place for the sole of your foot. There the Lord will give you an anxious mind. Huh? Eyes weary with longing and despairing heart. You will live in constant suspense, filled with dread, both night and day, never sure of your life. In the morning you will say, if only it were evening, and in the evening, if only it were morning, because of the terror that will fill your hearts in the sights that you will see. Now here is the kicker. Verse 68. Here's the kicker, and we're going to end it here, not in the video, but in the reading here. Verse 68. The Lord will send you back in ships to Egypt. Egypt meaning into slavery. Egypt here is a spiritual Egypt. It's not the country, but it's Egypt was where we were in slavery. When he's talking to the people here, we were leaving slavery. This is Moses in the desert talking to the people. He just got out of slavery. And he's saying, hey, God's going to send you back to Egypt. He's talking about he's going to send you back into slavery. How is he going to send you back? In ships. In ships. On a journey. I said you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as a male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. You ever heard of the transatlantic slave trade? Getting sent back into slavery by way of ships. By way of ships. That's the That's the transatlantic slave trade. I already showed you the iron, the yokes, iron yoke on neck. It doesn't. You don't even have to type in black, but let's just type in slave ships. Slave ships. I didn't say anything about black people. Why are all the pictures when I mention slave ships? Why are they showing black people? Why, when you Google slave ships, I didn't say black slave ships. I didn't say black slaves. I said slave ships. Why are they showing people packed end to end? Why are these all the black slaves who survived the transatlantic slave trade? Why? I mean, this is biblical prophecy, right? It says we're going to go back into slavery by way of ships. Why don't they show a bunch of Europeans, right? Why don't they show the Ashkenazis going into slavery by ships? Why do they keep showing a bunch of black people? I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I am of the opinion, I am of the opinion that I am a Hebrew Israelite. I identify as a Hebrew Israelite. I believe that me and my folks are the descendants of the people mentioned in biblical prophecy. Now, I'm not here to bash on any Europeans who practice Judaism. I encourage it, as a matter of fact. I encourage our people to obey the laws and commandments of God. I encourage all people who can be hurt, who can be harmed by following the laws of God. It's only a positive thing. So I'm not here to bash other groups who are practitioners of the religion. I encourage that, right? I encourage that. I'm not here to say other people aren't allowed to practice Judaism. Shoot, we're the ones that went out to the Romans and to the Corinthians and proselytized and converted those folks to Judaism. I'm just saying there's a difference between the religion of Judaism and the race of Hebrew Israelites. Now, me personally, I'm not saying that I'm, the ideal representative of following the every law and every book. I'm not saying I'm a perfect man. If anything, I would say I'm a sinner. I'm not perfect, right? My hope and faith is in Christ. I need an intercessory prayer. I need Christ. I need someone in my corner because I'm short. But I'm talking about the difference between the religion and the people. Anyone can practice the religion. That's a good thing to do. But if I'm saying that there's a people that this is referring to, Deuteronomy chapter 28, if I think this is referring to a specific group of people, I'm saying this is referring to me and my people specifically. All right. Now let me show you, and I've been rocking with y'all. Y'all been rocking with me for some time now. So I'm going to start to close this thing up. But let me just show you how we got here. I've explained to you my philosophy as far as us being the Hebrew Israelites. Now, the question would be, okay, well, if you're Hebrew Israelites, why are we all practicing Christianity? Why aren't we practicing Judaism? Why is it that the Europeans are practicing Judaism and the black people are practicing Christianity? The answer to that, I would say, is because one is because of the curses. We were cursed into slavery. We went into slavery and we had everything stolen from us. We had our language stolen from us. We had our names stolen from us. That's why we were convinced to call a man whose name Yahshua, we call him Jesus. Why are we calling him Jesus when it's written in the Hebrew? Everyone knows he's Yahshua. We had this knowledge stolen from us. We were lied to. We were tricked. We had our name stolen. We had our language stolen. We had our religion stolen. Everything was taken from us because of our disobedience. Okay? We had everything stolen from us because of our disobedience. And we fought it. Don't think we were just, we went willingly, but this is what happened. This is what happened.
I want to hear you say your name. Your name is Toby. What's your name?
Gunther. Lord God, help that boy.
Lord God.
Dead.
Lord God.
What's your name? Say it. Toby. Who are you? Say your name. What's your name?
Toby.
What's your name? Jesus.
Aye. Say it again. Say it louder so they all can hear you. What's your name?
Toby. My name is Toby.
Aye. That's a good nigger. Cut him down.
That's a good nigger. That's a good nigger. Right? So you can see the progression. First, what's your name? Oh, I'm Toby. I'm Toby. I'm a fighter. Anyone who's seen the movie Roots knows this was a fighter. He survived the transatlantic slave trade, got to the shores of America, did his best to run away, ran away so many times they cut the man's foot off. They're beating him. What's your name? Oh, I'm Toby. I'm a fighter. I'm Toby. You keep getting hit. What's your name? Huh? He didn't say I'm Toby. He said I'm Kunta Kinte first. And they hit him. What's your name? I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not saying I'm Toby, but all right, maybe I'm not Kunta. Maybe I'm not Kunta, but I'm not Toby either. I'm just gonna be quiet. Bah! Hit him again. What's your name? Okay, forget it, man. Forget it. I guess I'm Toby now. All right? That's what happened to our religion. That's what happened to our name. What's Christ's name? Yahshua. What's his name? Yahshua. What's his name? Jesus. Jesus. That's what happened. All right. We had our knowledge stolen from us. We had our religion stolen from us. So we went in the New Testament, you see that we, by way of Paul and the preaching the gospel, we're preaching Judaism to the Romans, to the Europeans, to the Corinthians, right? We're showing the Europeans our religion, our way of life, while we're under oppression. Because if you read the book of Matthew, if you know who killed Christ, it was the Romans, right? Why did the Romans kill Christ? Because we were under the Romans' rule at that time. We were already fighting wars by the time the New Testament hit. By the time the New Testament hit, the Hebrews were already under the oppression of the Europeans. We're already by the time Christ is walking around, we're already under the oppression. Think about King Herod. King Herod was trying to kill Christ when he was a baby, right? So the Europeans are already controlling our lands at this time. We're already fighting wars, losing wars. And King Herod and the Europeans are like, oh, we got to stop the Black Messiah. They're looking for a leader who can lead the revolt against us. That's why King Herod was trying to kill Christ before he even got a chance to grow up. So the Romans, we're preaching our way of life, Judaism, to the Europeans. We're preaching it to the Romans. We're preaching it to the Corinthians. We're preaching it to the Europeans, right? Then we go into slavery and we have our language stripped from us. We have our names. So now my name is no longer Jonathan, right? It wasn't. Think about Joseph. We would call him Yosef. Yahshua. We had our names taken from us. Yahshua, Yosef, Jonathan. We had our names stripped from us. What's your name now? Now my name is Tyrone, right? My name isn't Jonathan anymore. It's Tyrone, right? Our names were taken from us. Our language was taken from us. Our religion. You're not Hebrew anymore. Right? You're not Jewish anymore. What are you now? What are you? Oh, I'm Christian now. That's what happened. But the people that we converted, those Romans that we converted back under Paul right? When Christ was walking around, we converted the Romans, we converted the Corinthians. Those European converts, they continued practicing the religion that we taught them. Now you fast forward thousands of years, the European converts who were converted in the book of Romans, you can read in the book of Matthew in the book of the New Testament. We're under the time that Christ was walking around. The Europeans, the Romans are already in positions of power. We're converting them. We're converting them to our religion. Only we go into slavery and get our religion stolen. But they continue to practice the religion. You follow that thousands of years down the line, they're saying, hey, we're the real Jews. We've been here for thousands of years. My mom was a Jewish, and my mom's mom was Jewish, and my mom's mom was Jewish. It's like, yeah, y'all were Jewish for thousands of years since we converted you. Since we taught you the religion, y'all have been Jewish. Y'all have been practicing the religion for thousands of years. I believe you. I believe you. I'm not here to tell you that you're not Jewish. I'm not arguing with the Europeans and trying to say we're the real Jews and they're imposters. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I believe you. You're a white guy and you're saying you're Jewish. Fine. Your ancestors thousands of years ago were converted. Cool. I'm just saying my people are Jewish. Only our people are those who are specifically mentioned in the Bible, and we just had our knowledge stolen from us. We had our wisdom, we had our religion stolen from us, we had our name stolen from us. We had everything stolen from us. So even though we are the people that the Bible speaks of, we don't know it. We just don't know it. We're lost. We're confused. We're suffering the curses of our disobedience. That's what I believe. That's me. That's what I'm saying. That's the conclusion that I have come to. Now you might come to another conclusion. That's on you. I encourage you to start up your own YouTube. You can go out and tell all the people what it is that you believe. But if you're here and you want to know my opinion on the subject, I'm not here to bash the European Jewish folks. I encourage them to continue to practice their religion. That's cool. But when I'm speaking to my folks, I'm just saying that I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I believe that me and my folks are the ones that were specifically mentioned in the Bible. But again, there's been so much race mixing, slave owners, coming in amongst the people. So we've got all types of DNA. Listen, I'm not here to police sex and all that stuff. I'm just saying this is the conclusion. This is the knowledge that I've garnered over the course of years of study. Take it or leave it. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate you supporting the channel. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button. All right, hit the thumbs up button. And if you're new to the channel, smash the subscribe button for more content just like this. I drop a video, Bible in the News, every Saturday. Again, I missed this last Saturday, so I'm making up for it with today's conversation. Usually on weekdays, I try to keep it a little bit more secular. I talk more about news and current events, stuff like that. And I try to dedicate my Saturday broadcast to Bible in the News. So if you enjoy this type of conversation, be sure to come back for more. And one more time, I got to give a special salute to the sponsors of today's video. Let me tell you, man. Let me tell y'all, if anyone who was involved in the making of this video is on, you know what that means. You know what that means. I was so impressed. With the sponsors of today's video, because I feel like my brother would be so proud. Because my brother, I started taking this YouTube thing seriously. Maybe when I started taking it seriously, okay, I'm going to do what it takes to make this thing be successful. I made that decision in my mind in November, December of 2022. My brother was living with me. Like I told you, he had sickle cell. Earlier in 2022, he had sickle cell. I had an apartment. I was down in Atlanta. I got a 2-bedroom apartment. I was working from home. I said, hey bro, you don't gotta pay no rent. Just, sleep in the other room, bro. I got you. I put a bed up here. He was living with me. And I hadn't really made the decision to go hard on the YouTube thing at that time. But when I did make the decision to go hard on it, I told my bro, because before I made the decision in November, but when he was living with me, I told him, yo, I'm thinking I'm going to get into this YouTube thing. I'm doing a lot of stuff with work right now, but I think I can make something happen with that. And he was like, yeah, man, I support you. And to see like my first sponsor being, you know, bringing awareness to sickle cell, I feel like that's special. Like that's special. I feel like my brother is up in heaven, you know, smiling at me like, yo. I can only imagine if my brother was here right now. He'd be like, "You still little, bro, though." That's what he was like. You still little, bro, though. Don't yeah. I see you doing your YouTube thing. You still little, bro, though. Huh? Oh man, I know he'd be proud of me. Guys, I want to give y'all a special salute. And one more time, I'm gonna run this ad. I'm gonna run this commercial. I'm gonna run this commercial in case y'all missed it earlier in tonight's broadcast. Today is the first broadcast that is sponsored. So this is big. This is big for me. And I'm gonna hold on because I closed the tab, so y'all rock with me for a second. Today is the first sponsored broadcast, so I want to be sure to play one more clip. And this is part one. This is part one. And the broadcast, the way that it's set up, it's a series. It's a series of videos that is bringing awareness to sickle cell. Wow. God is good. Look at God. Look at God. All praise to the Most High. Y'all check this out.
You don't understand. Whenever I go down to the sickle cell clinic, they don't listen. I tell them I need a stronger prescription, that I'm hurting badly, and they act like I don't know what I'm talking about. They never pay attention to how I feel, how I hurt, or what I have to say.
As a sickle cell patient, I've had to learn to stand up for myself. They will listen to you if you're firm but not brash. Clearly and calmly explain your reasoning. It's easy for them to dismiss you as one of those if you get it up into their face. But if you're determined and resolved, eventually they'll take notice.
When will I get to stop fighting the system?
Oh, it's gonna be a minute. But you never stop advocating for yourself. And you have the right to be heard and informed about all your medications and all your treatments.
Thank you.
Not satisfied with health care? Don't feel like doctors are listening to you? Don't give up talking. Having problems with pain management meds? Don't stop advocating. Facing preconceived notions? Don't quit. Hang in there. Be honest. Don't feed into this stereotype with hyperbole. In the midst of your pain crisis, it's in your best interest to remain cordial and communicate.
Wow. Check that out. Boom. Boom. Shout out to the actresses. Those beautiful black women, beautiful natural haired black women. Shout out to the actresses, man. I'm just proud. I'm proud all around. Hey guys, that's going to be it for today's video. That's it for today's video. Shout out one more time. Special salute to today's sponsors and the actresses involved. I appreciate everyone who's rocking with me so far. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button to boost us in the algorithm. It's free and it supports the channel. And if it's your first time, smash the subscribe button for content just like this. I want to see you again. I want to see you on the next one. And I know I took some time off, but I'm back in full effect. All right, I'm back in full effect. We're going to be going hard this week, bringing a lot of content to you. I'm sure you're going to find interesting. So I'll catch you on the next one. I appreciate you all for rocking with me. Peace.